Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you on this October 9th, 2025. I got all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work. Our featured story today will be Candace Owens as she continues to peel away the layers regarding Charlie Kirk's murder. Of course, there is a man in custody, but there's a lot more to the story. Namely, several days ago, she releases text messages, which revealed Charlie was being canceled by several of his large donors. Did this have anything to do with his untimely demise? Not too sure, but those text messages have been authenticated and confirmed by Turning Point USA. So we'll get into all of that. I've also got a couple other stories regarding Laura Owens as her trial is about to go forward with regard to Michael Maricini as she extends her restraining order. And then Trump continues his war on Antifa and then more on the government shutdown. All these stories and more starts right now on The Rush. So I do have the Candace Owens story. It's going to start in a minute or two. But first, I wanted to share a couple more lighthearted clips. Here is Robert Irwin, who's been crushing it on this season of Dancing with the Stars. Takes his shirt off during a dance, now gets an offer by Chippendales.
Is it true that you were approached by Chippendales to host a show? And is it something you're considering?
That is true. That is true. The Aussie boys as well, Thunder Down Under, also reached out. Mate, all power to them. Not for me, not right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I'll take the shirt off every now and again.
No, he won't be.
I'm gonna draw the line there. I think.
For now.
Yeah, I mean, did you?
Don't lie.
I'm telling you, if you have abs, you might as well join Chippendales. If I took my shirt off, I would join Olive Garden. You know what I mean? I've got a very carb-heavy look happening right now. Hey, but that's the season, right? It's fall, right? We're putting on fat for the winter. It's hibernating time, baby. Well, here's a bizarre story I wanted to share with you guys. An Indiana mom went missing. Her house was on fire, burnt down. 8 days later, she was found in the woods. The story's not adding up. Have a listen.
Okay, fast-moving story here. We were planning to come on air tonight with a bizarre story of a missing Indiana mother. But in the past just 2 hours, the case has taken another completely mysterious turn. Brittany Gard, the missing mom, was found alive just 2 miles from her home, just this evening. But it has been 8 days since she went missing, so there are a lot of unanswered questions tonight. In those 8 days, there have been massive search parties blanketing the entire community. Investigators, volunteers, Brittany Gard's family members, all searching 75 acres of cornfields, row by row. This is in Bainbridge, Indiana. It's due west of Indianapolis. They put divers into ponds around this community, but there was no sign of Brittany Gard. And none of this made sense. Brittany Gard had talked to her daughter right before the girls' volleyball game and was supposed to be there to cheer her on, but she didn't show.
Listen, here's my hunch. Sometimes people just need a break, right? The mom got fed up and she burnt the house down. And listen, I'm not trying to make light of it, but it's a very odd story. It reminds me of that dad, I believe in Michigan, who faked his own death and then moved to Eastern Europe, only to, of course, get caught and they brought him back here. But either way, we'll get the update. I think they said the fire at the house was suspicious. So we'll get down to business. We'll find out what that was all about. All right, let's dive into Candace Owens. Let's go into it. I've got 3, maybe 4 clips I'm going to play for you guys regarding Candace Owens. She actually said she took out her what she's calling her life insurance, where she's got information about, I guess, other folks in politics. Very vague, but she says basically her life insurance is that she's provided different friends information that if she was to be offed, that would be released. That's her way of saying, don't mess with me, don't take me out. I've got dirt on different people. I don't even know what that means, but it's a wild time to be alive that someone would even have to make that kind of statement. So she discusses Charlie Kirk and why she believes he was betrayed. Now, clearly he was murdered, right? But she also confirms that those text messages she shared were real. Now, this is important because everyone says, Candace is full of crap. Now, in some ways, maybe she is, with regard to what she thinks of the French president's wife. She's getting sued for defamation. She'll have her chance in court to prove her innocence or whatnot. But in this case, she's already dropped some receipts. They've been verified. What else is true out there?
Had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me
that he was betrayed.
All right, so she talks about this dream she had where Charlie says he was betrayed. Now, dreams don't hold up in court, but, there's a lot of questions, obviously, to, were there any accomplices? Were there other shooters? Was Tyler Robinson even framed, the guy that they got? So, again, she kind of continues to share what this betrayal was all about.
And now we're all just sort of on this journey to find out by who. So I released a text message yesterday, dropped it on the world, and it caused, and this is putting it mildly, a lot of panic. As I said, the chatter on X was top tier. Emphasis on the tier, because there were a lot of them being shed by everyone who was discounting me. She's this, she's that, she's lying. Charlie never changed his mind. He was committed to Israel to the day he died. In fact, he almost died for Israel. That was the vibe they were putting down, and I was getting angrier and angrier and angrier. But self-control always pays off.
Now, if you didn't watch the episode where she revealed what these DMs were, there was like a 9-person group chat where Charlie Kirk had mentioned that a Jewish donor that pulled out a $2 million donation, and that there was kind of this idea that he was going to have to push away from some of the, I guess, talking points that those Jewish donors wanted him to have. I say all this because, look, after he died, you had Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel. He's saying, oh, Charlie and I were the bestest of friends. And everyone's sort of trying to jockey to have Charlie kind of do their bidding in a very morose type of way. And Candace here says, no, I'm going to expose all of this. It's wrong. Now, does that mean that Israel was behind the killing? Not whatsoever. That's not what it means whatsoever. It just means it's interesting to see behind the curtain here, the old Wizard of Oz. And as far as conservative media goes, it might be the same way with certain liberal media, but seeing the donors. Now, look, I get paid by YouTube and SiriusXM and like podcasting, but based on whatever the local sponsor is. There's no big donor money that comes in that tells me what to think or what I can say. I've never been more free. I just got to make sure I don't shit on whatever my local sponsor is for the day. You know what I mean? So it's bizarre to me to think that there's this much money coming around. I mean, they're saying Charlie Kirk might have had $100 million budget. What are you talking about? That's wild. So if he is saying he's going to change his tune on what he thinks about something, his opinion has a lot of weight to it. So let's jump to the 1350 mark here. I wanted to continue. So she exposed these text messages, and then they were verified.
Fact, real. He did this on the Charlie Kirk show. And actually, I don't think it's dramatic to state that this may be the first respectable measure taken by Turning Point USA executives since the passing of Charlie Kirk. Like the first respectable response. And yeah, I thought that was, I will compliment that. Just the action of Andrew Colvett addressing it head on instantly was good. So let's hear Andrew Colvett in his own words.
But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friend's trust in that way.
All right, so then he gets into kind of justifying those messages, which I think is less important. I think the more important thing is saying, hey, on this one, Candace Owens, she dropped the receipts. They were right. And we're going to see so much of this with the world of AI. This happens to me when I'm sourcing material, is sometimes I'm watching a clip. I'm going to share a clip with you on the second half of this episode today, and I wasn't even sure if it was real or not because the AI is getting so good. But again, it doesn't mean that Israel's behind the killing whatsoever. It just goes to show how much money goes into the opinions that certain people have. And I guess you just have to be really careful with how you consume your media and who you're listening to, kind of knowing where they're taking their money from, and if it's somehow informing their opinions that they have about certain things.
I want to say one more thing rather explosively. 3 people told me off record. 2 people who have this in a written communication from Charlie. One who is a Turning Point USA donor, and I would say very much one of the white knights in this. The very day before Charlie Kirk died, he expressed that he thought he was going to be killed. He told these people, I think they're going to kill me. Okay. He did not express that to me. So I am telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people. And I am saying this because I hope that these people who I think are good will be inspired to come forward with that.
Okay. That leaves a lot of questions. And of course, this is like what, fourth-hand knowledge at this point. These folks that Candace Owens cannot reveal because it was off the record say that Charlie believed he was going to be killed. Who is they? What? And by the way, if you did think you were actually going to be killed, wouldn't you beef up your security a little bit? Again, I'm not blaming Charlie here. It just seems it's a very wild accusation that Candace Owens is making. But if these people told it to her, let's. I guess she's trying to put public pressure on them to come forward. Again, though, if I can see why people wouldn't come forward, considering how serious this is all getting. It's wild stuff, but those are your Candace Owens updates. And I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this, what you guys think. I mean, it's an active investigation, but clearly the government is kind of botching how they're handling it. We've seen them botch the Epstein files release. They're botching this, the whole FBI and the Department of Justice. It's all over the place right now. So do we have confidence that they've got the right guy? I mean, we'll see how it plays out in court. I still have confidence in the judicial system, at least from the judge's standpoint. So if he did it, you'd think there would be some hard evidence that happened. I just don't know if they have that right now. We don't even know if the guy, they said that, Tyler Robinson was this crazy left-wing lunatic, and we don't know anything about that. We haven't heard anything from any of the families. It's very, very bizarre, to say the least. All right, I got a lot of stories to get to. I've got Laura Owens on the Clayton Echard story. If you're new to the channel, stick around. I'm going to cover a little bit of politics. I promise I'm trying to be fair. It's an absolute dumpster fire out there. These stories and more coming right after a quick word from our sponsor. Today's episode of the Rush Hour podcast is sponsored by Upside. It is a free app that gets you cash back for purchases you're already making at gas stations, restaurants, convenience marts, grocery stores. It's unbelievable. How it works is you just go to the app. It's free. You type in where you live, and it shows you literally all of the thousands of different options, from saving 65 cents per gallon to, look at this, Five Guys, burger and fries, 38% cash back. You just buy the food, the gas with your credit card, then you upload the receipt through the app, and it's money, cold hard cash, straight back to your bank account. No confusing rewards, points, or credits. Actual money that you will transfer into your pocket. $1 million in cash back is being earned by users every week. Upside has given back $1 billion to its users. To find out how much you could earn, download the free Upside app and use promo code RUSHHOUR to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas using promo code RUSHHOUR. Now let's get back to the show. How about some Taylor Swift news? Of course, she releases her album. And here we have the Pop Apologists podcast, good friends of the show here. They say they don't like the song Would. Again, this is about Travis Kelce's, his private parts. I mean, I don't know how else to say this on a morning show. She referred to them as a redwood tree. Well, I guess they don't. I like the song. I think it's a bop. Have a listen.
Only got 12 tracks.
Yeah.
I did not need one of them to be a full song.
Yeah. You guys, we are talking about Would.
I was incredulous. My jaw had dropped. I am not able to get on board with this song.
You think your jaw dropped? You should have seen Taylor Swift's.
I like that she is in her sexual prime.
Yeah.
I like that she's loving her life. It's not it for me, but you know what? Like, that's just something I need to work through.
I mean, I think I'm also just like not into like singing about.
You're not?
I'm not. And I think I don't want her to be puritanical, but once again, if this was a 27-track album, throw it in there.
Right.
I mean, look, let her live her life. She got dictamized or whatever they call it, right? I mean, let her enjoy the red wood that put a rock on her finger or whatever. You know what I mean? Come on. All right, well, speaking of enjoying your life, we have an update on the Laura Owens versus Mike Maricini. There's a new expert witness that Mike Maricini wants to call to the trial. This is Laura Owens trying to get an extended restraining order. As you guys know, I've been covering this. I got a playlist now on TikTok. We've gone absolutely viral, several million views. Well, if you guys don't know the story, it's all made up. Laura Owens, she, fraudulently got, pregnancies, fake pregnancies, and she has this restraining order against Mike Maricini. Well, we found out that Mike Maricini had this old laptop, and there was information on it, but he was afraid to open the laptop up because he hadn't used it for a while. He didn't want the messages to disappear, but he basically said, Laura Owens, she said some crazy stuff to me. So we raised $5,000. Our community raised $5,000 to hire John Berryhill. John Berryhill is a forensic expert. He was able to verify all of the text messages from Laura on Mike's laptop. I mean, this is like case closed information. It was just sitting there. Thousands of pages of text messages of her faking cancer, of her faking domestic violence. Really, she used the same photo to say she was getting an abortion, and later she used it in her TED Talk to say that she was the victim of his abuse. He never abused her. The only crime he was guilty of was putting up with her bullshit for too long because he thought she was going to harm herself. So it's an absolute wild story. There's a lot more to this. I'm going to cover the rest of it on TikTok. I'm continuing to go through the timeline. But right now we've got Laura Owens' mom, Jan Black. She is claiming that everyone out to get her are these men's rights podcasters, apparently talking about me, which is absolutely insane. My audience is like 90% women. I don't think they're supporting a men's rights guy. It's all about the rights of people that are victims of Laura Owens, and they just so happen to be mostly men, although she's been, there's females involved too that have had to deal with this nonsense. So it's a very wild story. We'll continue to keep you guys posted. Laura requested a 45-day continuance due to the aforementioned claims. And by the way, if this is all gibberish to you, Laura Owens faked a pregnancy with the former bachelor, Clayton Echard. We've been covering it. We're a witness for the state of Arizona. It's going to trial. She's been charged with 7 felonies after she made up medical documents and a whole bunch of other stuff. Well, Clayton wasn't the first person she's done it to. It goes all the way back to at least 2016, and we have just stopped her in her tracks. So we'll be continuing to cover all of the updates that come from that. Here's a bizarre roundtable. Donald Trump held a meeting on Antifa and domestic terrorism. So they're calling Antifa a domestic terrorist, even though Antifa is really an idea and not an actual organization. So here we have Pam Bondi saying they're going to do to Antifa what they did to the cartels, which is pretty crazy considering they blew up, I think, 4, maybe 5 boats without any due process. People just flat out murdered, blown out of the water in the Caribbean Sea. We'll have more on that in a second. But what a bizarre time to be alive.
We're not going to stop at just arresting the violent criminals we can see in the streets. Fighting crime is more than just getting the bad guy off the streets. It's breaking down the organization brick by brick. Just like we did with cartels, we're going to take the same approach, President Trump, with Antifa.
And the question is, who's Antifa? So how are they going to break it down? Are they going to say this is the Democratic Party? Are they going to say it's commentators? Are they going to say it's people like me? I mean, Antifa just stands for anti-fascist. So here's Donald Trump talking to a Republican or a right-wing influencer, basically trying to get them to snitch, saying, hey, if you know who's funding them, can you let us know? They're doing this they're just talking out of their asses.
Sir. Do you know the name of any of the funders? Do you know the names? Because if you do, I'd like you to give them to Cash or Pam.
Yeah, it's Joe from Des Moines. What do you know?
Absolutely.
Or Christy.
Yeah, we'll do that.
As soon as you can. That's all of you. Because you probably know the names after a certain...
And you might wonder, why is Trump micromanaging like this? Don't they have bigger things to worry about? Well, it's all PR. It's all them establishing that they're going to start getting serious on Antifa. And it's a way to get around a lot of laws because you say, listen, Antifa is terrorists, therefore we don't have to have the same process that we would have for, dealing with an unlawful person. I mean, it's very frightening.
Period of time you tend to find out. But these are people that do not have good intention for the country, and that's treasonous probably. So very important, if you could do that, it would be great. Nobody would know better than you. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, get on that. Okay, I'll get my notepad out and I'll go find out who's committing treason. What? I mean, first of all, yeah, treason's obviously illegal. But you have to remember, just like a month ago, they accused former President Barack Obama of committing treason. What are you talking about? You're the executive branch. You're the Department of Justice sitting next to you. You guys can't just accuse a former president of committing treason. That's a penalty by death. They just make that accusation and then nothing has come of that since then. So we're going to war with the Caribbean Sea. Here's Gustavo Petro, president of Colombia. This is translated by on Twitter here. Senator Adam Schiff is correct. Now I find myself in a meeting with the European governments, and I will say the same thing. A new war scenario has opened up, the Caribbean. Indications show that the last boat bombed was Colombian, with Colombian citizens inside it. I hope their families come forward and report it. There is no war against smuggling. There is a war for oil, and it must be stopped by the world. The aggression is against all of Latin America and the Caribbean. Here it is. I mean, sign Johnny Depp up for another Pirates of the Caribbean. You don't want to mess with Colombia. Let me tell you something. I've seen Narcos. You don't want to mess with Colombia. So that's true. Of course, the Trump administration is not worried about cocaine coming in from Venezuela. They want the oil. That's what it's all about. So this is wild. And this was in response to Adam Schiff saying, tomorrow, I, along with Senator Tim Kaine, will be forcing a vote to block President Trump's use of our armed forces to conduct strikes against vessels in the Caribbean Sea. And what they said, when they actually seize these drug boats, like, off the coast of Miami, in Florida, they said 1 out of every 4 times they go onto these boats and raid them, they're actually not drug boats. Oops, my bad. So 25% of the time they're wrong. Now we've bombed 5 ships, and we're supposed to believe that all of them were just bad terrorists, when in fact, the first ship, there's a lot of evidence that it was a bunch of migrants. And say what you want about immigration, but we cannot be blowing up human beings without any sort of due process. That's absolutely ridiculous. So going back to Trump, this is insane. Here we have, from his little round table there, a podcaster who claims that she went from having Trump derangement syndrome to going full MAGA. And by going full MAGA, she actually got more attractive. I thought this clip was fake. It has to be, right?
I had strong Trump derangement syndrome for probably 8 years. And by the way, it's much better to not have TDS. I'm happier, I'm healthier, more successful. I even think I got a little more attractive after I got rid of my Trump derangement syndrome. Yes.
And he goes, very attractive. Tell me that's fake. I mean, I looked online and someone said, this has to be fake. That, people were like, no, apparently it was real. So there it is. I'm not here to comment on her looks, but I'm just going to say, I don't think going MAGA made a difference. I don't know. Maybe if you're into red hats, I guess. I don't know. Very bizarre. And then the best part was Trump here going, he goes, yeah, you're beautiful. You got more attractive. I'd grab you by your whatever. All right. And again, it's wild. You had Pam Bondi getting cross-examined by plenty of different people in the oversight committee. She refused to answer any questions. She treated it like a roast battle. And here we have someone saying, look, if this was Watergate, leaders actually stood up to power. This is worse.
This moment, Chris, is worse than Watergate.
You think so?
I absolutely do. Now, I'll tell you why. Because there were people around President Nixon at the time who resisted his worst instincts. We're talking about a bipartisan delegation of congressional leadership who marched down to the White House and told him that what he was doing with regard to an enemies list is wrong. You had an attorney general and others at the Justice Department who resigned as opposed to carrying out President Nixon's vindictive political orders.
Yeah, and of course, what you're seeing now is they're unlawfully sending people overseas to these detention centers. In some cases, when they have done nothing wrong. Albrego Garcia, a judge, is now saying that they might throw out the charges against him because they're retaliatory. They're not charges based on merit. They just were looking for a reason to prosecute him. That's the country we've quickly unraveled into living in, and it's wild. And everybody, like 80% of the country, just wants the Epstein files released. We want to find out who are these sickos, whether they're in government or billionaires. Nobody cares whether they're left-leaning or right-leaning. We just want them all exposed. Well, here we have the new Congresswoman-elect. She's calling out Mike Johnson to his face for refusing to swear her in. She was elected 2 weeks ago. She's the go-ahead vote to get the Epstein files voted on to release them. And instead, they shut down the government. They refuse to. He's putting his fingers in his ears, and she's not having it, and neither are we.
Weeks ago today, this community elected me to Congress. And today, 2 weeks later, I'm still not sworn in. Speaker Johnson continues to make excuses. But all the while, Southern Arizona still does not have a voice in Washington. First, it was certification. And then it was whether Congress is in session. Hell, they won't even end their vacations to come to work. And so what I am asking you to do is continue to apply pressure to Speaker Johnson, because he said he would swear me in whenever I wanted. And then a few hours later, walked that back and said, just kidding.
Yeah. So she just wants to do her job. You know what I mean? Final clip. Here we have Governor of Illinois responding to Trump saying that he should be thrown in jail.
You know as well as I do, the President of the United States in the last 24 hours called for you to be imprisoned. I want to give you an opportunity. We've seen your reaction on social media, but I want to hear what you have to say back to the President of the United States.
Well, let's start with the idea that this is a convicted felon. I mean, think about that, who is threatening to jail me. I got to say, this guy's unhinged. He's insecure. He's a wannabe dictator. And there's one thing I really want to say to Donald Trump. If you come for my people, you come through me. So come and get me.
Wow. Oh my gosh, these are fighting words. Now, this is why it's so insane, right? Because Trump is trying to send the National Guard, the Texas Guard from Texas, 400 or so members, into Illinois, because he's saying it's crazy there. If you guys won't police your people, we will. They've created a mess. Now he's trying to send one state against another. You got the governor of Texas, the old bootlicker Abbott, saying, sure, boss, whatever you need. My question is this: when did Texas become so weak? When did they start taking orders from the president, who's just a billionaire from Queens, New York? Texas, you're the Lone Star State. Now you're Trump's bitch. When did this? It's like I live in an upside down world. It's a wild time to be alive. Let me know what you guys think. I know Texans, it's like you really want your tax dollars to go to this? The boys, the young men and women, to be put into harm's way, all for some sort of cosplay demo reel that they want to shoot here with smoke guns and nice Black Hawk helicopters, zip tying children. All for what? Does this lower grocery prices? Is this doing anything for anyone's pocketbook? Is this releasing the Epstein files? I mean, it's all just a diversion from what people want. I don't know. It's bizarre. All right, that's it for me. Those are my thoughts. We'll be back this afternoon. We're here twice a day, every day. Pop culture, politics, a little bit of everything for your rush hour ride to work. We'll see you then. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.